I think the identity difference between the two clubs is where I think the clubs are so, fascinatingly different. I mean, Real Madrid's identity is, glamour, star power, and, inevitability. They are kind of the clubs of superstars. They always carry this aura with them. Bayern, on the other hand, feels more like a machine. I mean, their culture is built around structure, discipline, and physicality and control. So even when they have stars, the system always comes first.
Yeah, there's definitely a divergence in terms of how these two teams have tried to build that unique team culture. Yeah. And this divergence combined with all those histories like, for example, years back, Bayern's unromantic 9-1 victory against Real in a friendly, and Juanito's 5-year suspension after brutally tramping on Matheus, and the controversial referee calls in recent Champions League matchups really put the two teams on opposite sides. But that said, however, there are so many star players that have worn both shirts.
Yes.
Xavi Alonso, Ian Robben, Toni Kroos. I think that shared history kind of softened this rivalry. It's not like in the El Clasico, everything is intensified. Yeah. Luis Figo and Luis Enrique were esteemed as traitors by the two clubs, but James Rodriguez and David Alaba were welcomed, with applauses and tributes when they came back to their former clubs.
What I also like about the clashes between the two is that they couldn't be more different in terms of how they've achieved their success. So for example, Real Madrid is kind of like more chaotic and individual brilliance and romanticism and superstars, whereas Bayern Munich always feels like a bit more ruthless and structured and controlled and like game management and collective. And to see those two sorts of elements clash on a regular basis, we must also remember that it's one of the most played Champions League matches between the two of all time. I think those two culture clashes are always very, very fascinating to watch.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.